Disney Plus releases Echo on the tail end of Daredevil. Is this any good? Find out in my review right now. Stay tuned. Okay, we are back with another review, this time for a series that released both on Hulu and on Disney Plus simultaneously, because as you know, Disney just bought out the rest of their interest for Hulu, so they're starting to release stuff. I think Percy Jackson's also on there. I'm probably going to give that a shot as well. But I am Frank Zanka. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, and I am your host. And so let's talk about what's going on with Echo. So this was she was a character in Hawkeye, which is one of the few Disney shows I actually liked. I think it's probably probably the only one. I liked parts of the WandaVision and What If. So everything else, as far as I was concerned, was trash. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Falcon and Winter Soldier started out really well, and then it got almost unwatchable. So yeah, there was Disney Plus, Marvel, and then Moon Knight was bad. Everything's just been bad on there, and it just doesn't seem like it's getting any better. And I had found out, so when I moved to Atlanta, I had a tour of Trilith, and Trilith is the group of sound stages that's owned by the Cathys, who own Chick-fil-A. They are dumping billions and billions of dollars into building out the sound stages. They also have a huge volume wall that's immense. I have a video on it on my channel, and the volume wall is basically a bunch of monitors where it looks like a background that looks like it's real, kind of like what they did with Mandalorian. But anyway, so that's all here. So they had told me that both the Agatha Harkness series and Echo had all been shot. It was done. And this is when I first moved here, 4 months ago. So I had known this thing had been done, but they didn't release it. And then I heard there was, issues with it, that it wasn't really good, and they were holding back on it, and all this other stuff going on. And now I understand why. So, in my opinion, this thing shouldn't even exist. So, first of all, they didn't really choose the best person for the role. There are plenty of American Indian, Native Americans, however you want to say it, actors that could have played this role much, much better. Alaqua Cox is not really an actress, and apparently she went to the Rosario Dawson School of Stoicism. I'm serious now. I'm serious. Can you see my arms? They're crossed, and I'm serious. That's Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka. And it's also Alaqua Cox playing Echo. So first of all, they changed the whole power set of, I'm not going to talk about this long because there's no reason to. It was knocked down from 8 episodes down to 5, which tells you everything right there. They wanted to get this out the door. They didn't think that they could cancel it a la Batgirl because of the fact that they virtue signaled this to hell, which is the point I'm making, how they cast this. All right, so she's not really an actress. So they total virtue signaled here because of the fact that the character in the comics that's why her name was Echo, is that she could, like Taskmaster, she could see your movements and mirror them. So if your fighting style was elevated, she could elevate her fighting style right along with yours. And that also allowed her to be able to lip read. Okay? So these writers, which I've heard them called hacks several times. So this was, I forgot her name. So the Amy Rarden. So if you don't know who that is, she is the showrunner for the very, very bad, cringe-worthy series of the remake of Charmed. God, I really wanted to like that show. I thought that I love the original Charmed. I thought the actors were decent, but the show got progressively more woke, more work to the point where I just couldn't even watch it. It was completely unwatchable, kind of like what happened with Supergirl, but worse, far worse. And so going into here knowing that this writer doesn't know how to do anything else besides Virtue Signal, which is sad because she was also wrote some of the episodes of Jane the Virgin, of which I thought that was kind of groundbreaking. But again, that kind of overstayed its welcome. But maybe she was more reined in. So as soon as she hit going into Disney, the reins were open for her and she could do whatever she wanted. So, even in interviews, she was going on about ALS. Oh my God, the ALS. I mean, I thought she was going to come on the screen because of the fact that she was over on all the ALS shit. But Echo didn't need ALS, and ALS is this sign language, or is it ASL? Whatever, American Sign Language, so ASL. And so she didn't need it, but they put it in there purposely to Virtue Signal. So they changed her whole power set because they wanted to bring in the Native American side. That's fine. You can definitely have there's plenty of Native American superheroes. We even have an X-Men that's Native American. There was a Native American superhero that was able to grow back when I was a child in Super Friends. And so, I was watching Lone Ranger and Tano. I mean, there's been plenty of Native American heroes. So this is not unusual. But the fact that you had to change the power set to fit it in, and this is why that's why people call this hack. And this is what some of my other videos have talked about. There are writers that know how to take a character and then build a story around it. Okay? Because remember, she didn't create this character. This character's been around for a long time in the pages of Daredevil for many, many, many years, probably decades. So there are writers that respect the source material and then build around it. Then there are the writers that say, here's this character, here's my ideology. How do I shove it in there? How do I shove this character into my ideology? And then they alter the character. And those are the hack writers. Don't be one of those. If you're a budding writer, don't be one of those because you're going to get a failure, which is exactly what this is. Every time you see one of these writers try to do one of these, it fails. Every single time. Because you could tell. You can tell as a viewer that something's off. And then if you're trying to hit the fans, we've already alienated them because it's not the same. So anyway, so she could read lips, but so you can make blind characters very easily, I think, in film. And there's been plenty of them. But on the deaf side, if you're not reading lips and you're doing these, you can't tell what the actor's saying, right? Because probably 90% of the population doesn't know ASL. So what do you have to have? Subtitles. So what happens? The show turns into a foreign film where you have to read everything that's going on. Unless you make something like Silent Night where it's all about the action and there is no dialogue. But that's not how this was. You were reading, every time you watched this show, you were reading it. Until the very end where she got contacts that that was able to translate. She could see the sign language from what people were saying, which I thought was interesting. The other side of the coin is she's got so here I'm going to reenact. Okay, let's do a reenact. Let's reenact the casting call for Alaqua and the and the show in general for Maya. Okay, it's interesting that it's Alaqua Cox and Daredevil's name is Cox as well, the actor, but I don't think they're related. So anyway, we're the casting directors right now. So there's a few of us, and we get Alaqua come in, and she does her thing, right? Of course, all she could do, she can't mouth anything, right? She can't say any words. All they can do is ASL, and she gives them the stare. I'm acting. So that's what we get, and then she walks out, and the cast directors, they will look around like, so what'd you guys think? Yeah, she was okay. Yeah, it was all right. All right, well let's bring in the next Native American amputee deaf person. All right, that fits the 25 to 35 thing. Well, we must have a pile of them, right? Nope. That was it. That was the only. Okay, well, what do you guys think? She was great, right? She was great. All right, yeah, she's our girl. Let's do it. Come on, man. Come on. This is how we cast now? We got to match every little thing. Like a person with two legs couldn't have done this role? We've seen plenty of amputees that were not real amputees. Rose McGowan is not a real amputee, and she had a gun attached to her leg. And we had plenty of people that played deaf people that were not really deaf. So I would not be surprised if she was the only candidate for this role. I mean, how many Native American people within 25 to 35 that are deaf and are amputees are there in the world? Not many. Oh my God. So anyway, that's what I'm saying, is that they're no longer taking, this is not a merit system anymore. They're not taking, like Neil Patrick Harris, who played a womanizer in How I Met Your Mother. Well, he's gay. So technically he should never have gotten that role, because a gay person shouldn't be playing a straight person. That's what basically they're saying. They said that in Batgirl too, Batwoman. Well, we have to have a gay person playing this role. So it's got to go the other way too. And Neil Patrick Harris was great in that role. So what? And the same thing with Matt Boomer, or whatever else that, I forgot the show that he was on. He was gay also when he was playing a womanizer. You cannot cast. So as a filmmaker myself, and all for you other filmmakers out there, you don't cast a person that actually has the different things that that are in the character. That's why it's called acting. So now when you go to acting school, you don't have to take any courses on how to be deaf. You don't have to, or how to be blind, or how to be Cockney, or how to be Irish, or how to be, because they can only cast people from Ireland now. So forget about doing any kind of accents. You don't need them, because you're not going to get cast for that role, no matter how good you are. And obviously anybody that's now coming in from England can't play Americans, right? Because you're not allowed, because that's cultural appropriation. I have no idea what is going on in this industry. This is not how it works. And you got the biggest company in the world, the biggest entertainment company in the world, using this ideology that goes against everything that Hollywood was about. That everything that these actors trained decades for are out the window because they have to virtue signal. It makes no sense, man. So if you're a filmmaker, your big thing as a producer, okay, is everything should go to making the product the best product you can possibly make within the budget that you have, okay? And for me, that come from the $1 to $2 million range films, it's very difficult. right? Because I can only choose from a smaller group, right, that I can afford. When you go to a level like this, where the sky's the limit, you can get anything you want. So you can't tell me that there was no other person that was better for this role than Alok. I mean, even her face looks chunky at times. I don't know. It's not even appealing. And there's nothing likable about the character. I'm sure the actress is great in real life, but there's nothing likable about anything that's going on. Nothing endearing. The only person that's endearing, really, is Kingpin. Because Vincent D'Onofrio knows how to play a villain. I mean, he was even reined in. Which, the script was reining him in and making him like a pussy. That's not, he looks like Kingpin. He looks like Kingpin from the comics, man. Oof. You couldn't have cast something better than that. So then you have this perfect casting for him. And then they try to make a costume for her at the end. Oh my God, it was the whoever did that, the costume the designer needs to be shot, man. Oh my God, that was awful. I mean, if you see it, you know what I'm talking about. And Film Threat, Alan from Film Threat, he says, I felt like everybody was acting around her. And I totally agree with him. I agree completely. They hired all the other Native American actors that have been acting forever. Like Tantoo Cardinal, who's been in everything. Whenever they need I think she was just in Flower Moon too. And Graham Greene, who was in Dance with Wolves. I mean, they hired all these Native Americans that had such huge amounts of credits that they were trying to hold her up. And then the fight scenes were generally bad. And see, there's the other thing too. If they had half a brain, she was brought up by Kingpin in this series, right? So he obviously has technological companies or contacts, right, that can do technology, right? I mean, in the comics, he's making robots and shit like that. So yes, there's really nothing that is beyond him financially. Why didn't he give her a robotic leg? If it was some kind of high-tech leg that allowed her to have super strength in that leg, a la Bionic Man, I could buy more about what was going on, with her with the fight scenes. I don't understand why they didn't do that, because then you could have had her, slam people against the wall with one kick, and I'd buy it. But I felt like this leg would either fall off or break, and it was just regular metal, right? So that would like bend. I wasn't buying her doing these kicks with the leg, because I feel like it would bend. I think it would break. I don't think that she'd be able to land right. I think that it would, as soon as she landed on it, it would bend. I just wasn't buying any of it. And then especially when they had Graham Greene's character, which is like a trope now. You have to have an uncle or whatever, like Blue Beetle, that has to be the tinkerer. Oh, can you fix this for me? Oh yeah, no problem. I own a store. I just happen to be able to build legs. Come on, man. And then he somehow created this plate that had the logo on it. Yeah, you just happen to have, a forgery back, a forging system back in your store. Come on, man. None of this was good. None of this was good. The story is all over the place. None of the characters are unlikable. When you try to make a character who is a anti-hero, I brought this up before about Black Adam. When you try to make an anti-hero, it's very tough, because you have to give them some kind of redeeming quality. You have to have them have an arc. where they learn something that changes them, a la Tony Stark. I mean, you could almost see Tony Stark being a villain where he's creating weapons that do mass destruction. But he goes through this harrowing trauma where he has no choice but to change his life. We don't have that here. We have Hawkeye that we saw him kill the I guess we didn't actually see him kill the father. And he blames it on Kingpin, right? And she immediately believes him. I don't know why, when he basically, he was the one that raised her. So we have that, and then she decides to kill him. She shoots him through the head, and somehow he just loses an eye. At point blank range. Bullshit. And then we get the first 10 minutes of each episode, or at least the first 2. We have this flashback of her ancestors. No, it's the first 3. Of her ancestors doing extraordinary things. We have this whole story of them playing this game and the woman getting pissed off and then pulling on her ancestor to be able to have superpowers. I'm so tired of superpowers that get handed to people. Miss Marvel, all this stuff, they just get handed. And that's how it is here too. She didn't earn those superpowers. So she's drawing off, and then we have another silent movie type look of a girl that's told that she can't be a ranger or whatever else because she's a woman. But meanwhile, then she saves everybody, and she draws off, and they have superpowers. And it's like, why am I even seeing this? I don't care. Because you're already changing the powers. Well, we didn't need this. So anyway, because even when Matt Murdock is blinded, he doesn't know he has powers. He has the sonic thing, but he learns and trains himself and stick trains him how to use it. We don't get any of that here. There's no coming to Jesus thing with this. There's no, Echo, here's your mentor. Her mentor is Kingpin. And he's not deaf. So how is he training her? He's not. He brings in an interpreter when he needs it. The show is just bad. They virtue signal for no reason. I think they could have got a better actress in here. Again, I have nothing against the actress herself, but she just, and they turned it into a foreign movie, a foreign show where it's, all reading subtitles. Anyway, that's it for me. On a scale from 1 to 10, it's a skip it. You're not going to find a whole lot to like in this. It's just not good. And we can't even really bring in the family. I mean, she has an outing with her grandmother, who is Tanto, or however you say her name. I think that's how you say it. And so she has this. She's not even trying to get with her family. They're all. She uses them all, and then she literally walks in to her grandmother's house or whatever and sees the costume and takes it because she sees her mother and she takes the costume. She didn't even know if it was made for her. She just takes it. Anyway, and then how she beats Kingpin at the end. So cringe. So cringe. I mean, you can't get cringier. Anyway, I can't talk about this anymore. I'm just getting pissed off. Anyway, remember that I'm going to have a late pledge for Lords of LA at the end of the month, and Mark Spears and I are working diligently on the new card game, Riftstorm Classic Monsters. We are doing some play testing, and I'm very excited to release that for everybody in a couple of months. All right, so thank you again so much for watching. Give me the thumbs up. Give me the middle finger. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. And if you aren't subscribed, why the hell not? And check out some of my other videos as well. Thank you for hearing my rants. All right. Bye, guys.